were to fine-tune a model, you can see that the prices of fine-tuning is actually a lot more than if you were to use something like RAG. Okay, so let's try to break down the specific costs of what it takes in order for you to deploy a RAG system. So for one, deploying something like retrieval augmented generation is very quick. So if a client came to me and they said they want to build a chatbot and they have this data set of documents, it would probably take me a few hours to set something up in order for them to talk to those documents. So the specific cost for using a retrieval augmented generation model is that if they have a large number of documents, then you can use something like Pinecone. And Pinecone is relatively cheap to use. If you were to use the starter plan, and then we're just looking at semantic search of around 30,000 documents, where each document is around 20 kilobytes on average. So in this case, this is around 600 megabytes of data. So if you have over 600 megabytes, then you would need to use the standard plan, which is $50 a month. Or you can host the data yourself by using ChromaDB, and ChromaDB is completely free to use, and you just need to do a little bit more optimizations on how you're handling the data. Okay, so looking at the prices for fine-tuning a GPT model, I did the calculations here using Claude. We have, if you were to fine-tune the GPT 4.1 model with the same number of tokens, 600 megabytes, you would spend around $3,750 for GPT 4.1, for the mini $750, for the nano $225, and for the O4 mini, it says it uses hourly pricing and not token-based training costs. So anyway, if you were to fine-tune a model, you can see that the prices of fine-tuning is actually a lot more than if you were to use something like RAG. And in this case, you would need to downgrade that model in order to use something that's more appropriate to what problem you're trying to solve. So if you need a model that's trying to solve a very complex task, then you need to eat the cost of using GPT 4.1. And you can't even fine-tune your models on the GPT 5.2, 5.2 Pro, or the 5 mini, because they don't give you access to fine-tune those models. But in some specialized cases, if the task is relatively simple, you don't need to fine-tune these very big models. You can use something that's freely available online. But you need to be an expert in the field to know the capabilities of what large language model to use for each task. And you need to go through the process of trying to pick what model is the best to use for that use case.